Welcome to Crypto 10 Digest. Will Bitcoin continue its price surge and reach new milestones? And when can we expect altcoin season to begin? So, everyone's asking, right? Can Bitcoin keep soaring? Can it hit those new highs? And, man, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, what we're seeing right now, it's just this incredible, massive influx of institutional capital. You've got these, huge financial giants jumping in. They're not just playing around with a few bucks anymore. We're talking serious, multi-billion-dollar commitments. And that kind of momentum? It's not just a flash in the pan. It's a fundamental shift in the market. And I know what you're thinking. But what about altcoin season? Everyone's waiting for that, you know? That sweet moment when the money starts to flow down from Bitcoin and into the alts. Well, to be honest, history shows us it usually happens after Bitcoin has had its big, aha moment, after it's reached a new all-time high and kinda stabilizes. That's when the risk appetite really kicks in, and people start looking for those next explosive gains. So, we're watching, we're waiting, and we're getting ready. Alright, so today, we're not gonna make any wild predictions, right? Instead, we're gonna analyze the market for some real, actual clues. We're gonna use both technical and fundamental analysis to get the most comprehensive picture possible. So, we can find the answers to these two big questions that everyone's asking. So we're looking at the weekly candlestick chart, and I want to get the broadest possible overview here. Alright, so you're looking at the charts, right? We all are, and everyone's wondering, where are the key levels? So, let's talk support and resistance. On the downside, that major support level we're all watching is around that big psychological number, you know. Alright everyone, let's get right into it. Understanding the charts, it's really the first step. So what I'm going to do is show you exactly how I spot those key levels. I'm going to draw out the support zones. Those are the floors where the price tends to bounce up. I want you to see where that buying pressure comes in. Then, we'll hit the resistance levels. That's the ceiling where the price gets rejected. This isn't just about drawing lines, you guys. It's about understanding the psychology behind the market. It's about seeing where the buyers and sellers are really fighting. Watching these key zones, it's going to give us a much clearer picture of what's happening. Alright everyone, let's talk about indicators. I've got my RSI and my DMI showing some serious upside momentum for Bitcoin right now. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm actually gonna turn them off for a second. Why? Because while they're great tools, I don't want those short-term wiggles. Those little price drops and pumps, to mess with my head. What I really want is that big money perspective. I want to zoom out and see what the institutions are doing, what the long-term trend looks like. For that, I'm sticking to the daily candles. It's all about avoiding that emotional noise and focusing on the bigger picture. Now, if you're the kind of person who wants to be super reactive, making quick moves, then, yeah, you should be looking at the daily, the 4-hour, or even the 1-hour charts. Just remember, that's where the real mental game starts. You've got to be ready for that kind of volatility. But for me, for now, I'm all about that long-term vision. Alright everyone, let's get into the deep stuff. All this price action, it's not just random noise. So today, I'm going to show you my personal analysis, and we're going to try to find the peak of this current Bitcoin run. I'm gonna use the powerful combination of Elliott wave theory. That's where we track the psychological waves of the market. And then we're gonna draw some Fibonacci retracement levels. Voice becomes a bit more serious, deliberate. Now, listen up, and this is important. This is not a crystal ball, okay? This is a tool to help us understand where the market could be headed based on historical patterns. You've got to use your own judgment and, of course, always do your own research. But what we're about to do, it's going to give us some really interesting targets to watch. Alright, so you saw me find that potential peak, right? Now, it's time for the next step. I'm gonna grab our Fibonacci tool, and I'm going to draw a few retracement levels. From that absolute recent high, all the way down to the bottom of the move. You know, it's all about finding those key levels that traders are watching. What this does is it creates a roadmap for us. It's gonna show us where we might see potential support or resistance on the way back up. These are those magical percentage zones that everybody keeps an eye on. It's not just random lines, it's science, man. It's science. Listen, everyone, check this out. I want you to pay real close attention to those 1.1618 Fibonacci levels we just drew. And you know what's crazy? It's no coincidence that this zone just happens to line up with some really important support areas on our candlestick chart. It's almost like the market has a memory, you know? It's telling us that this is a key level where we could see the price find its footing and bounce back up. This is a pattern a lot of traders are looking at. So keep your eyes on this zone, because it's telling us a lot about where we might be heading. Now, listen, everyone, and this is super important. What I'm about to share is my personal analysis, not financial advice. You've got to do your own research. But based on the Fibonacci we've drawn, my analysis suggests that the next big price target for Bitcoin, if this rally continues, is somewhere around that $147,000 mark. That's a huge psychological level, and it's what we're watching. On the other hand, we have to look at the downside, right? If we see a break below that key support range between $86,000 and $96,000, my analysis suggests that the current price might just be the peak for this entire cycle. So, we have to watch these two zones very carefully. Now listen, we can look at all the charts and indicators in the world, right? But that's only half the story. We gotta zoom out and look at the big picture. That means we need to be keeping a close eye on macroeconomic news. Things like the Fed's interest rate decisions, because that can change everything. We also have to watch the inflation numbers. High inflation, low inflation, it all moves the market. And of course, we need to pay attention to any crypto-related policies or regulations coming out of major countries. These are the fundamental forces that can really steer the ship, so you've gotta stay informed. Okay everyone, listen up. Let's talk about the Fed and what they just decided. The Federal Reserve kept interest rates right where they are, at 4.25% to 4.50%. Their language was pretty cautious, you know? They said economic growth has moderated a bit, the job market is still solid, but inflation is still somewhat elevated. This is a big one to watch. Two of the members, Michelle Bowman and Christopher Waller, actually voted against the decision. They wanted to start cutting rates by a quarter point. That dissent shows there's some real internal debate and that some people inside the Fed think it's time to ease up. So for now, it's a classic wait and see strategy. They're just holding tight until they get more clear data. And according to a lot of the experts out there, the first real opportunity for a rate cut could be at the next FOMC meeting, which is happening in mid-September. So, that's what we're going to be watching for. Okay, so let's talk about the real engine behind this rally. I mean, the capital flowing in from these spot Bitcoin ETFs is still a massive driving force. It's what's bringing that big institutional money into the space. We can look at the net flow data, which, basically tells us if more money is going into the ETFs than coming out. And that's our window. It shows us exactly how the big funds and institutions are acting. As long as that net flow stays positive, man, that is a huge, huge sign of strength for Bitcoin and the whole market. It shows us that conviction is high, and the big players are still buying. So, what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your take on it.